Are you an anxious, preoccupied person and find yourself in the heat of the moment struggling to self-soothe when you're triggered? See, if you're experiencing these things where you feel this elevated, intense fear and panic and worry and even sadness and loneliness all at once, this is all a trauma response. It's not that you're just a needy person or that you can't control yourself. It's that you actually have a whole bunch of subconsciously stored trauma around abandonment, and you acquired that stored trauma at a time where you were completely dependent on your caregivers for survival. You may have heard the term arrested development. And this concept or idea is that we have these sort of old aspects of self that never got to grow and heal and evolve. And if you pay really close attention when you're really, really triggered and you're really afraid of being abandoned or somebody pulling away or disconnecting from you, you might even notice that you feel sort of childlike, that you feel sort of like young and frozen and small. And it's because you actually acquired these fears of abandonment at a time growing up where you were completely dependent on your caregivers for survival. And so when they pulled away, when they were inconsistent, when there was some sort of either real or perceived abandonment, it actually impacted your subconscious mind and imprinted you with a fear of actually not surviving. Now, until we go back in and work through things at a subconscious level, these things stay with us. They stay in our programming, in our subconscious for our whole lives if we don't do the work. And so you might have acquired this fear, let's say at the age of 2 or 4 or 6 or sometime really deeply in our early childhood. And then fast forward decades later, when somebody pulls away, it might trigger this fear to come to the surface, to your conscious mind surface again, and really overwhelm you and cause you to feel all of this like really uncomfortable emotion. And it's actually the result of you going back into that frame of mind or mindset from which you acquired the fear at a young age, where it actually feels like, hey, if somebody pulls away from me, if my caregivers aren't here to meet my needs, I literally might be unsafe, abandoned, and not survive. And as a 4-year-old or as a 2-year-old, that actually makes sense, right? When you fear abandonment, it actually is you fearing for survival because you actually need your caregivers to survive. And so as an adult, our conscious mind might say, oh, this is silly, it doesn't make sense, but you're reliving that at the subconscious level of mind. Now, there's really powerful tools that we can use to work through these imprints on our subconscious. We can use auto-suggestion, belief reprogramming, and we have a tremendous amount of tools for that inside of the school. And one of the most powerful things is when we can isolate those fears and actually use repetition and emotion to overcome them. But somatic processing allows you to practice witnessing your emotions instead of being consumed and overcome by them. And then actually do some emotional equilibration work to help soothe those sensations, that emotional intensity, the way that your whole nervous system is being dysregulated because you're literally having a trauma response when that fear of abandonment is there. And that will help you learn to deal with really heightened emotional reactions. It really helps with things like extreme fear, panic attacks, all those sorts of dynamics. Learning to be really good at somatic processing will help you learn to deal with emotions in such a powerful way. If you really want to do some in-depth healing around these things, we have a codependency and enmeshment course that you can check out fully for free and actually keep for life. It's valued at $250. That course will really help you if you struggle with emotional overfunctioning, if you struggle with keeping your boundaries, honoring your truth, not self-silencing. The course will really go into all of the reasons why this happens and what you can do instead. And I'll put the link for free for you below. The main message I wanted to give to you in this video is that when you're having those intense emotional responses, when you're super activated, super triggered, it's not that like, hey, you're just having this silly thing that you can't control. It's that, hey, you have a trauma response that's arisen because as a child, you having that abandonment actually created traumatic imprints. And how the subconscious mind works is that it stores everything. It stores everything forever until we get subconscious reprogramming, until something changes those patterns, basically under the same pretenses that we acquired patterns to begin with, including things like repetition, emotion, firing and wiring neural pathways, and how those sorts of things work. So I really just wanted to share this message, encourage you as an anxious, preoccupied person to be gentle to yourself, to not judge and shame yourself if you're having that experience. I've seen so many anxious, preoccupied individuals like be needy and then maybe call somebody a bunch and then judge themselves as like weak or silly or like, oh, why can't I control myself? And it's like, hey, you're having a trauma response and then you're judging yourself and shaming yourself for it. Imagine if somebody else did that to you, right? That's not how we want to heal. That's not us nourishing ourselves and showing up in the relationship to ourselves if you're an AP. I really want to stress, be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself, understand what's going on. And then by doing reprogramming around those beliefs, you're actually like plucking out those imprints from your subconscious mind, like weeds that need to be plucked out. And then by also learning to get good at somatic processing, it will help you learn to self-soothe even in those heightened emotional states. And those two things together will help you remove these things once and for all, and will be extremely important on your healing journey.